What's cracking, people? Angelic Mayhem here. Welcome to another edition of Never Played, the video series where I show you a brand new video game that I have never played before. Today, I've played a copy of Gunpoint, which is a 2D noir-style, spy-themed action/puzzle game, where you play the role of a spy lost in a Cold War between two rival gun manufacturers. Now, normally, this would be the time when I told you which development house birthed this baby. But, as it turns out, this title is the brainchild of one guy, Tom Francis, a games industry writer from the UK. Tom spent 3 years working on this project in Game Maker, and he has finally launched it on Steam. Was it worth it? Let's find out. One word describes this story: intrigue. You play the role of a spy who becomes embroiled in a web of lies, deception, and blackmail that revolves around infidelity and industrial espionage. At any time, you can fight for any of the factions or play all the sides against each other to try to make some extra cash. From the outset, you are being used by everyone, which limits your options but also gives you an unexpected position of power. The largest portion of this game is dedicated to the story mode, though I was able to play with the level editor a bit to try to create my own puzzles. In single player, though, you follow the story and allow yourself to be hired by various people to break into one of about a half dozen locations in this little town. Sometimes you're working for the gun guys. Sometimes you're working for the other gun guys, and then occasionally you're working for the cops. The twists and turns are really interesting. Just like when you're playing golf, you don't mind replaying a hole on a golf course weeks later because every time they move the pin, it changes the strategy of the hole. In this game, you never really care that you're playing the same locations over and over again because each time they're slightly altered by the story to keep them fresh. After solving the puzzles to grant yourself full access to the building, hacking all the laptops, and purloining your target, you can escape from the area via the subway. You just walk out the back door and off you go. You're graded on your smooth technique and stealth ability. Alert too many guards and it will affect your final grade, which in turn affects how much money you make. The first time you sit down to play this game, it begins very strangely with a flat menu option of what resolution you would like to play at, and then it launches you immediately into the game. While this is novel, I ultimately didn't enjoy it. In this case, I just kind of felt like I needed a main menu at the beginning. If you save and come back later, though, then there finally is a main menu. The sound options are lacking, and things like rain effects aren't controlled by the sliders that you think they should be. I have to say that the weakest part of the game is probably the user interface, which is awkward and is missing some key elements like re-key binding. The chief game mechanic is your special pants. They're called hyper trousers, and they allow you to survive falls from magnificent heights and launch yourself across the room. All right. So your movements are based on clinging to walls and flinging yourself through closing doorways and killing guards by tackling them out of windows. The game allows you to play, and in fact grades you on playing, non-violently. You can punch out guards silently or avoid most of them altogether by using distractions. The game has upgrade features that allow you to change the rate at which your pants charge up and the distance that they will launch you. You can also purchase additional spy toys that allow you to break through glass silently by pressing the left mouse button just before you crash through a window. Or, if you're so inclined, you can purchase a handgun if you don't mind getting your hands wet. Finally, but most certainly not least, is the puzzling system itself. Throughout each level, there are doors that are locked and cameras that must be turned off. This game's defining mechanic is the rewiring system, whereby you can reconnect the electronics of a building, or in some cases multiple buildings, to make switches on walls unlock doors, and cameras in corners activate elevators, which is all very spy-tastic. The changes you make to the building's wiring serve to distract the guards and grant you access to areas that are otherwise off limits. And the solutions you have to come up with are often challenging and, intellectually speaking, very rewarding. Without question, this part of the game is where the puzzling aspect comes into play, and it is well done. Best part of the game. The game is a 2D game based in a very low-budget pixel art style, all right, as you might expect from a one-man development team. However, there's never a moment when you feel the graphics are lacking. All right, everything is muted and very stylized, and because you're not looking at tons of gore or fighting with cameras and geometry colliders, as the user you can just kind of sit back and focus on the story and enjoy the game for what it is. Now, there was a problem with the game camera, specifically when you were switching between regular mode and rewiring mode. But this was a very, very small problem. All right, for the most part, the graphics are solid. The replayability of this game rests entirely on two things. All right, your interest in replaying some of the levels to make different dialogue choices, and the quality of the level editor, which would allow you to build your own puzzles. All right. To the first point, I would suggest that the story has many branching paths, and replaying the game multiple times could be quite interesting. All right. I finished the game in just under 6 hours. However, I kind of get the feeling if I had spent time replaying the levels to unlock all the different options, I may well have spent double that amount of time to see everything. The game does record how long it takes you to finish each level, so you may want to try to beat your own times, but once you know the solution, beating your time is sort of a hollow victory. I would say that if you enjoy the story, you'll enjoy rooting out all the twists and turns, and that you shouldn't depend on the level editor for any sort of replay value. So, final thoughts. To single-handedly put together a video game after 3 years is a monumental task, and one that I'm sure Tom is quite proud of, and as well he should be. This game was a blast, and the plot really had me on the edge of my seat at certain times. I had to weigh my options very carefully, and occasionally had to flat out take a break to decide which branching path was best. The characters are fabulous, and while I take issue with some minor annoyances in terms of interface and camera controls, I would encourage all of you to have a look at this one. And if you like puzzles combined with film noir style detective/spy stories, you won't be disappointed. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button or subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content like this in the future. I'm Angelic Mayhem, and I will see you next time.